All right, how is everyone doing today? And welcome to my channel. Channels for educational purposes. And we check into important theories, concepts, and discoveries that are not well known because they have been suppressed. They have been put to the margins by the powers that be who don't want you to know about these things because of their potential to help you out with your quest for better spiritual, mental, and physical health. And this is a feature that we have that is called the Q-tip of the spear. And this is all about the info war, all about what's going on out there in the battle against the globalists, where uh, a lot of the adversaries are actually um, more Stockholm syndrome victims and probably don't quite know what they're fighting for. Um, but the whole charade has degenerated into uh, a farce, and the main stories that um, I'm having trouble even paying attention to at this point are so ridiculous and absurd and just not realistic and um, intended to really upset you and get you angry, get you off your game. And they're generally really for waking up people who are still in the deep snooze. And, you know, it's like, how stupid does it have to get before somebody wakes up about this? But at the same time, I believe they are also funneling messages to the people who think they're awake, um, but aren't, because they are still imbibing the Christianity drink, in spite of the fact that it's an obvious psychological operation and that the New Testament was written by the Romans and there's abundant proof of it, um, compared with exactly zero proof for the Christian version that it was a true story. Um, there's no evidence for any of that. And so I think if you're a truther, you have to reevaluate your position there. But I don't really know of any truthers who are doing that. And so that is really a red flag. And it's a stain on the truther movement. And I would say that it's a humiliation. Uh, the movement, though, is going to defeat the globalists. But what's going to happen after that? And I feel like that's kind of the position that I'm trying to take is, and you know, it reminds me of, I used to go when I was growing up, uh, used to go to a lot of baseball games, Major League Baseball games. My friend had season tickets that were box seats, really good seats, his dad's company or whatever. We used to, this is when we were like, 12 or 13. But and so we used to get a ride to go down there, and then like a bunch of juvenile delinquents running around in these box seats with 14, 13, 14 years old or whatever. But it reminds me of kind of being at a sporting event. Say you're at a football game, and your team is like up 17. You're up 17 or you're up 21, and it's in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter is just starting, you know. And so, the other team has been sputtering. They haven't really put together any good drives. um, or their offense that hasn't really done that much in the game, and you're just like, well, it's been a pretty good game. There've been some plays, but we could we could we could cut out, like, they're gonna win, and we could beat all the traffic. We could be home, you know, we could be home getting ready for whatever it is that I'm not talking about being 14 again, and now I'm talking about being an adult. But we could be home and like getting ready to do the pre-party or whatever it is that we're doing, for the nightcap. We could be home by the time the game's even over, or we could sit around and wait for the game to end and then have to deal with the crowd. And, you know, it could take an hour to get out of the parking lot. Um, and I think that's the kind of moment that we're at right now. Do you want to cut out early? Cut out of the info war early? We're still going to win. And you could get your ass back home and get ready for the next event and be ready and be in a position to, make sure that the next event goes well as well, because there is a next event. Defeating the globalists is one thing, but the other thing is now, okay, so now you have the keys to the you have the keys to the car, or the keys to the whatever it is. So you have to come up with stuff. You have to govern. You have to make the decisions that you've been so critical of, that the former bosses were making. It's a lot easier to criticize somebody else's decisions than to actually make them on your own and make them stand up to potential scrutiny. And I don't believe that the truther movement is ready for that. I think that the truther movement is ready to go forward on the basis of old fashioned Christian values. And that isn't going to work because it's not true. And none of you have done the research at all. It's like you guys talk a lot about Christian value. You don't ever even read the book. Like you might have some verses in your head about what various occasions, and you can cite the verses, or you have a general idea of what the story is, but you need to really study the book, because the more you study it, the more it falls apart. And especially if you study other um, contextual works as well, that kind of put the New Testament of the Bible into context, and you start to see, like, who are all these random characters that are appearing here in the especially like in the book of Acts and some of the Pauline epistles. They give shout outs to various people. Who are these people? And just a lot of like kind of random stuff that most people just kind of read over and don't it doesn't register. This stuff is important. There's nothing in there that is like irrelevant. It's all there for a reason. And but more, it's just like the context. Who wrote this? When did they write it? What did they write it for? What was, and that, I think it's also just very important to understand that, this was being written in the first century AD. This is, they had different kind of understandings of what history was, and what is, uh, what religion is, and what the purpose of what they're writing was. um, and that's even if you consider that it's that these books were actually written by the people that they say it was. But when you recognize that it's the Romans that did it, which is put in relief if you look at the work of Josephus. and see, compare his work, War of the Jews, with the New Testament, and see that they're written by the same people at the same time for the same reason. And we know that Josephus is an insider to the Roman royal throne. He's known as Flavius Josephus, a member of the Flavian dynasty of Caesars. Um, that could come as a shock, but it's obvious. It's very much common sense. Most truthers will tell you that, I've been red pilled, and I'm finding out that everything I thought I believed in has turned out to be a psyop or a hoax or a false flag, or a staged event. And why would you think that this is any different? Why would you uh, hold this out as an exception to the rule, first of all? And secondly, even if you grant that it maybe is an exception to the rule, why haven't you done the research? Why haven't you looked into it at all? So that is my rant for today. Well, actually, they'll probably get two more rants from me later today. But for now, that is the Q-tip of the spear. And we will do another one tomorrow. I think today was number 57. And stay tuned for more videos on Wild Tangent. And thanks for tuning in today. Have a wonderful day.